Once upon a time, in a quiet fishing village by the coast of Nigeria, there was a young woman named NNEKA. She was known throughout the region for her extraordinary beauty. Her skin was as smooth and radiant as polished ebony, her eyes sparkled like the stars, and her smile could light up the darkest night. But NNEKA was more than just a pretty face. She was kind, intelligent, and deeply loved by her family and friends. One day, as NNEKA walked along the beach, she found a curious object washed ashore. It was an intricately carved bracelet made of a shimmering, iridescent material she had never seen before. As she picked it up, she felt a strange but gentle warmth emanate from it. Intrigued, she slipped the bracelet onto her wrist. Little did she know, this simple action would change her life forever. That night, as NNEKA slept, she had a vivid dream. She found herself in a lush, otherworldly garden filled with vibrant flowers and majestic trees. In the center of the garden was a clear, sparkling pool. As she approached the pool, a magnificent serpent emerged from the water. Its scales glistened like precious gems, and its eyes were wise and kind. "Do not be afraid, NNEKA," the serpent said in a soothing voice. "I am the guardian of the bracelet you found. It is no ordinary trinket. It holds great power and has chosen you as its new keeper." NNEKA was awestruck but managed to ask, "What kind of power does it hold?" "The bracelet grants the wearer the ability to transform into a serpent at will," the guardian explained. "But with this power comes great responsibility. You must use it to protect the innocent and uphold justice." When NNEKA awoke, she thought it was just a dream. However, the bracelet on her wrist seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Curious and a bit skeptical, she whispered, "Turn me into a serpent." Instantly, she felt a strange sensation as her body transformed into a sleek, powerful snake. She could see, hear, and move in ways she never imagined. After a few moments, she transformed back into her human form, stunned but excited by this newfound ability. NNEKA decided to keep her secret hidden, using her powers only when necessary. Over the years, she became a silent protector of her village. Whenever danger lurked or injustice reared its ugly head, NNEKA would transform into her serpent form and swiftly deal with the threat. Bandits, poachers, and even corrupt officials learned to fear the mysterious serpent that seemed to guard the village. One day, a great storm threatened the village. The sea rose with monstrous waves, and the wind howled with fury. The villagers were terrified, fearing for their homes and lives. NNEKA knew she had to act. She transformed into her serpent form and swam into the raging sea. With all her strength and the power of the bracelet, she calmed the storm, guiding the waves back to their normal rhythm and bringing peace to the land. After the storm, she said to herself, "No one can see me like this, else they might think I'm dangerous, since snakes are forbidden in the land." Exhausted but triumphant, she changed back to her human form and went back home. One fateful evening, a stranger named Obiora arrived in the village. Obiora was a tall, charismatic man with piercing eyes and an unsettling aura. He claimed to be a merchant, but his true nature was far more sinister. Obiora was a power-hungry sorcerer, determined to seize control of the village and its legendary protector. Obiora quickly gained the villagers' trust with his silver tongue and grand promises. He provided solutions to their problems and cures for their ailments, making himself indispensable. Despite his unsettling presence, the villagers were desperate for his help, especially as a strange illness had recently begun to spread. NNEKA, always vigilant, decided to keep an eye on Obiora. She felt something off about him, an unnatural energy that resonated with the power of her bracelet. One night, she followed him to his makeshift laboratory on the outskirts of the village. There, she witnessed a horrifying sight. The alchemist was conducting dark rituals, using the life force of captured animals and even humans to fuel his experiments. It was clear that he was the source of the illness plaguing the village. Confronting him, NNEKA transformed into her serpent form, ready to put an end to his evil deeds. However, the alchemist was prepared. He had studied ancient texts and knew of the power of the bracelet. With a sinister smile, he revealed a cursed amulet and recited an incantation that twisted the bracelet's magic. NNEKA felt a surge of pain as the bracelet tightened around her wrist, its warmth turning into a searing heat. The once benevolent power now felt dark and uncontrollable. The alchemist's spell had corrupted the bracelet, turning her serpent form into a monstrous version of itself. Overwhelmed by the dark magic, NNEKA lashed out, killing Obiora but not before he cursed her with his dying breath. From that night on, NNEKA's transformations were no longer under her control. She could no longer change into her human form. She had to run back to her hut at midnight so the villagers won't see her. Oh my God! What have I done to myself? Why can't I change back to my human form? If the villagers find out, I'll be dead, she said to herself. The next morning, there was a loud cry from the healer's hut. Everybody come, oh, our helper and healer is dead. A woman screamed. Hearing that, the villagers ran to the hut with the king and the village chief priest. After doing some incantations, he said to the king, "My king, the healer was killed by a very big female serpent." "What? A serpent in my land?" the king asked. "Yes, my king. And we must kill the serpent, else the land will be in great danger forever." Fear engulfed the villages as they all whispered in fear and went back to their huts. 2 days later, Amara, NNEKA's best friend, had not seen her friend for 2 days, so she decided to go check on her. Reaching NNEKA's house, she started calling her name. "NNEKA, NNEKA, NNEKA. How come you have not come to check on me for 2 days now? And you know I have been seriously sick," she said. NNEKA, hearing her friend's voice, became skeptical. "Oh my God! What will I do? Amara can't see me as a snake," she said to herself. She moved closer to the door so that Amara wouldn't be able to come in. "NNEKA, open the door," she said. "Are you not home? Did you travel again without telling me?" she said. She tried to open the door, but it refused to open. Then she left. The next day, very early in the morning, Amara returned to NNEKA's hut. NNEKA was deep asleep. Amara pushed the door gently, and the next thing she saw was a big snake. She screamed at the top of her voice, and NNEKA woke up immediately. As Amara was about to run, NNEKA noticed and grabbed her. Suddenly, Amara fainted. NNEKA, still confused, thinks of what to do. She lay Amara on the bed and ran into the forest. On her way going, some villagers saw her and screamed. Some ran for their lives. Some even passed out at the sight of her. The villagers gathered in the king's palace, complaining and murmuring that the serpent must be killed. The king ordered the guards to go into the forest and kill anything that looked like a snake. When Amara woke up, she ran out of the hut and was surprised to still be alive. An old woman appeared to her and said, "Amara, fear no more. The serpent you saw is your best friend NNEKA. You need to find a way to help her break the spell placed on her by Obiora. After which you chase his spirit into the wilderness, or else NNEKA will become the most dangerous monster in the world." NNEKA had to kill Obiora to save the land from the healer who was about to cast a dangerous spell on the villagers. She said as she disappeared. Amara was shocked and confused. As time goes by, NNEKA started turning into a dark serpent tatsy for blood. The villagers, once her friends and family, began to fear her. Stories spread of a monstrous serpent that killed anyone who crossed its path, a twisted shadow of the once beloved protector. NNEKA's heart broke with each innocent life lost to her uncontrollable wrath. One moonlit night, NNEKA found herself at the edge of a cliff overlooking the vast ocean. She could feel the transformation beginning again, the darkness clawing at her soul. With a heavy heart, she realized that the only way to end the curse was to remove the bracelet, even if it meant losing her life. Gathering all her remaining strength, NNEKA tore the bracelet from her wrist. The pain was excruciating, but she held on, throwing the cursed object into the churning sea below. As the bracelet sank into the depths, she felt the darkness begin to recede. Exhausted and weak, NNEKA collapsed on the cliff, and when she woke up she became a very dangerous serpent. She was never supposed to remove the bracelet. Then she went into the village, took over the throne, and everyone became scared of her. When Amara notices her friend is under a spell, she starts making moves to live the kingdom, even when NNEKA orders everyone not to leave the land. Amara went to Mama Ijioma's house. Mama Ijioma is also a traditional priestess. Amara explained everything to her. Mama Ijioma listened to Amara's plea and, with a heavy heart, agreed to help. She revealed that the only way to break Obiora's hold on NNEKA was to destroy the dark amulet. But it would not be easy. The amulet was guarded by dark forces, and Obiora's power was formidable. Undeterred, Amara set out on her quest. With Mama Ijioma's guidance, she journeyed through treacherous forests, across raging rivers, and up steep mountains to reach the cave where Obiora kept the amulet. Along the way, she gathered allies who had also suffered under NNEKA's rule. A skilled hunter, a wise herbalist, and a courageous blacksmith. Together, they fought through Obiora's dark minions and finally reached the amulet. As they prepared to destroy it, Obiora's spirit appeared, enraged and ready to kill. But Amara, with the help of her allies, managed to hold him off long enough to strike the amulet with a sacred dagger blessed by Mama Ijioma. With a flash of blinding light, the amulet shattered. NNEKA, who had been on the brink of losing herself completely, felt the curse lift. Her mind cleared, and her monstrous form reverted to her human self. She collapsed, overwhelmed with guilt and sorrow for the suffering she had caused. Obiora Spyrite, now powerless, was captured by the villagers and banished to the wilderness. NNEKA, though free from the dark magic, knew she could not easily reclaim the trust of her people. She abdicated the throne, leaving it to a council of wise and just villagers, including Amara. NNEKA chose to live in seclusion, dedicating her life to atoning for her actions. She worked tirelessly to help rebuild the village, using her knowledge and remaining powers for good. Slowly, the village began to heal, and the people prospered once more. Though NNEKA was no longer their ruler, she was remembered not for the monster she had been forced to become, but for the hero she had once been and the redemption she sought. The villagers came to see her as a symbol of resilience and the power of forgiveness, understanding that even the greatest of heroes could fall, but they could also rise again. And so, the tale of NNEKA the Pretty Serpent was told for generations, not just as a story of beauty and power, but as a lesson in the dangers of unchecked ambition and the enduring strength of a compassionate heart.